will be sidelining him for a number of months. And John Cena has been a victim of a lot of these injuries over the years, and we've seen John Cena very quickly rebound and rehabilitate from these injuries, but I don't think he's going to come back from this injury as quickly as what we've seen him come back in recent years. Now, back years ago, the difference is to now was that John Cena was really needed for events like WrestleMania because he was the name and the face of WWE. Not saying that he still isn't the name and face of the franchise, because he still very much is, but back then he was more so the name and the face of the WWE that just had to be champion. He was their go-to guy. He was their Hulk Hogan. He was their Undertaker. He was their Shawn Michaels. He was their Sting of the new generation, and he was their go-to guy. So he was someone that you just had to have the title on, no questions asked. If it wasn't him with an injury, it was always Randy Orton. Now that Randy Orton is out with a major injury, that's why we're seeing pushes of people like Kalisto as the U.S. champion and not Randy Orton, because Randy Orton's out on the injury at the same time that John Cena, unfortunately, is on the DL too. But do you really want the DL to be this big? And you really have to wonder, what needs to be done to dent the severity and lessen the number of names that you're seeing ending up on the DL this close to WrestleMania. You have Randy Orton, John Cena, Sin Cara, Sting, Seth Rollins, 5 or 6 major names, probably even more by the time we make it to WrestleMania this year on the DL. I can't ever recall a time when this many big names have been on the DL around the same time, and the DL has been this fucking huge. It's unbelievable how many injury updates we're reading about on websites like ProWrestling.com, just talking about the amount of news that's publicized on professional wrestling news websites, and this is blowing up the news with how John Cena now has to undergo surgery. He's going to be missing a few months. Not to say that I think that WWE is going to suffer from this. I just thought that WrestleMania really needed John Cena, and more than enough, I've said, John Cena needed to come back this year for WrestleMania over the last number of weeks, and you're probably hearing me reiterate the same thing, tired of hearing me reiterate the same thing of how WWE really needed John Cena this year for WrestleMania, and it's very rarely and uncharacteristic of me to really be approving of anything when it comes to John Cena. Outside of professional wrestling, he's amazing with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, granting more wishes than anybody. I have nothing against that. I think that's awesome that John Cena does that and goes out of his way to really put himself out there, but I thought that John Cena definitely was someone who deserved a lot of criticism, more so than ever being given the benefit of the doubt. So it's very rarely you hear me giving John Cena any credit for having done anything, so this is one of those extremely rare times where I'm putting over John Cena's return as a must for WWE fans. Even if it isn't a feud with Del Rio, at least he's in there on the WrestleMania card, and now he's not, unfortunately, because of this injury. And I think I can go on record for saying that this is going to be an injury that he's going to come back slower from than he has neck injuries and shoulder injuries of the past. I mean, even when he had fluid drained off his shoulder back in 2013 in that feud with Daniel Bryan after that unbelievable match, and he came out the night after SummerSlam, post-SummerSlam, and confirmed that he was going to be gone for a number of months before returning to challenge for a championship months later. He came back very fast from that, but I don't think he's going to come back from this injury as fast as others because, he's just getting wore out. I mean, 13, 14 years obviously plays on a wrestler and can affect the wrestler very dramatically, and obviously that's what we're seeing with John Cena. Time seems to be a factor, and times and things and events, different circumstances in John Cena's life seem to finally be catching up with him, and I could be wrong with my analogy, but I mean 13, 14 years definitely wears somebody out. It definitely slows somebody down. We have seen the best of the best be slowed down because of injuries. Shawn Michaels, Edge, so many wrestlers being slowed down, forced to retire. Stone Cold Steve Austin, even The Rock have seen their fair share of injuries over the years. I mean, in 2013, for instance, The Rock's age obviously played a factor because he had a number of injuries following his match with John Cena. They were small and minor injuries, but he still had injuries, again, demonstrating, just the toll, the physical toll that wrestling takes on whoever you're talking about with professional wrestling. You can seem like the most indestructible wrestler, even The Undertaker or The Rock, and you can still go down with these major injuries because time plays a considerable factor and role on everything that happens to you, and that's obviously just what we're seeing with John Cena after 13, nearly 14 years. He's slowing it down now, and he's using the time to create stars that are people like Kalisto and Stardust and Cody Rhodes, who he's all feuded with over this United States Championship with the U.S. Championship Open, which, by the way, guys, was a phenomenal idea for WWE Creative to write into their storylines because they were using the U.S. title division to create stars of tomorrow, create stars of the future, which is really what this new talent initiative is really supposed to be about. It's not supposed to be about the John Cenas and Randy Ortons, and I'm really proud of John Cena and Randy Orton. Remember what I just said there, because it's very rarely I say that I'm proud of anything John Cena has done outside of professional wrestling. Always proud of the Make-A-Wishes and things. But it's very rarely I'm proud of anything John Cena is doing, and I'm really proud that he's actually using the U.S. Championship, being U.S. Champion, and the U.S. Division to create these stars of the Stardust, and Dean Ambrose, who had a phenomenal match with Dolph Ziggler. Was another opponent that he had that just came to mind that so many people were talking about weeks after the U.S. Championship Open match with Dolph Ziggler. What a phenomenal match. Out of every match we've seen Cena and Ziggler have, I mean, that even tops the ladder match they had for the Money in the Bank briefcase at TLC a number of years ago back in 2012, 2013. So, I mean, really, when you can have U.S. Championship matches that top main events of pay-per-views like we had with John Cena and Dolph Ziggler, I mean, obviously Cena is serving his purpose and is serving his role in WWE very effectively, and that's why you go back to calling him the name and the face of the WWE champion or not, because that's really what he is, and it's just unfortunate name and the face of WWE has to miss WrestleMania because of these unfortunate circumstances when he could be headlining WrestleMania this year against the likes of Rusev, against the likes of Sheamus, against the likes of Dolph Ziggler, and elevating them, continuing to elevate them like he has in the past. And now, unfortunately, everybody seems to be suffering because Cena's out with a major injury. The ratings and the stock of WWE obviously have seen a significant downcline because of John Cena being out with his injury. We don't know when Cena's coming back. Usually injuries like Cena and Randy Orton have suffered usually keeps a wrestler out for the amount of time of probably 3 to 4 months maximum, so that will bring him up to April or May of 2016, but it's just unfortunate this early in the year we've seen so many big names go down with major injuries. It's not the first time, and it won't be the last time that we see wrestlers go down with this major injury, but do you really want to be seeing this happen this close to WrestleMania to a big name like John Cena, who has an endless amount of fans, an endless amount of supporters, and obviously you guys have got to be really depressed and really upset over the fact that Cena is not going to be there this year for WrestleMania. If he's doing anything this year for WrestleMania, it'll probably be to induct someone like Sting into the Hall of Fame because, of course, of Sting's and John Cena's history in the short time that Sting actually spent wrestling with WWE. If anything, he'll be inducting somebody this year in the Hall of Fame. They're going to give him something to do this year for wrestling. They're just to figure out what it's going to be. They're trying to find stuff for John Cena to do, and obviously with this injury, if he's gone for a significant amount of time, a number of months, we're going to be seeing him do a number of things with professional wrestling that will keep him involved with the product, but keep him out of the ring while he rehabilitates from injuries, because that's the really big thing about injuries is the rehabilitation process. It's not healing from the injury itself. It's just the rehabilitation process from an injury. I've had several injuries in my life, had to rehabilitate from a lot of those injuries, and I know how difficult it is, and it's just even harder for these wrestlers to have to rehabilitate from, broken knees or broken legs or broken arms because of the physical toll that it takes on them, and it takes on them for years. I mean, just like I said, 13, 14 years considerably plays a role on you and really wears you out, and that's what we're just seeing with John Cena. Is it time for him to slow down? Probably it is, but I don't think we're going to be seeing John Cena slowing down anytime soon, with just the responsibility on his shoulders, always having been there of, doing this or doing that, being there to promote something for WWE in the way of a radio interview, a magazine interview. He's always there to promote things for TV, for radio. He's just always there. He's always on the move for WWE, and he's the one who is selling the merchandise. So obviously WWE are paying his medical bills, and they're going to want to rehabilitate him as quickly as possible to get him back in the ring. Do I see Cena possibly coming back and challenging for his 16th championship very quickly here off this injury? Probably more so off the injury than anything because of the circumstances of the injury, how it happened. Probably have a better chance of seeing Cena going for a 16th championship. It's really a breaking heart situation that Cena's not in the Royal Rumble this year, because I really thought he would have been included this year in the Royal Rumble because of how many big names we saw in the Royal Rumble this year have already entered. Now Cena having to take his name out of the Royal Rumble, obviously having been replaced. I was really looking forward to that. But I think that when Cena comes back, we probably have a better chance than we ever have of seeing him challenge for a 16th championship against whoever the champion is, whether it be Seth Rollins, whether it be Triple H, Roman Reigns, whoever it is. We're probably looking at Triple H, John Cena versus someone like Triple H or Roman Reigns because of just how it all played out, the circumstances of it. It's going to be a really interesting time for wrestling fans around the time Cena returns. The midway point of the year, which will bring us up to 25% of the year having been wrapped up, is going to be really interesting, because I think by April or May, that's when we're going to see returns of Randy Orton and John Cena, and it won't be until then, that's the unfortunate thing, that things really start to pick up and change for professional wrestling and change for the better, and that's when people will be talking. Conversation I'm expecting will be at an all-time high when people like John Cena and Randy Orton make their returns, especially when Seth Rollins returns, which is the biggest return, that is the most highly anticipated, which goes with so much anticipation this year, because we're expecting to see Seth Rollins versus Triple H derived from this, and how Triple H and Seth Rollins, of course, were buddies in the Authority, and then Triple H went out to find new individuals to help him, like Sheamus and Rusev, the entire League of Nations, the Wyatt family, and he even offered an opportunity to Roman Reigns to replace Seth Rollins. So obviously Seth Rollins has to have mixed emotions about that, how he feels about Triple H. Maybe he still likes Triple H, maybe he doesn't, maybe he'll tease how he wants to align himself again with Triple H and then turn on Triple H like Randy Orton did to Seth Rollins for WrestleMania just last year, back in 2015. We've seen psychology play a factor in this, and I think Seth Rollins could demonstrate his understanding of psychology with wrestling with how he turns coat on Triple H, giving us Triple H versus Seth Rollins. But his return is probably the biggest one. It's going to be happening in the summer of the year. That will get us to near the end of 2016, so Seth Rollins is going to have to make up for a lot of lost time. Not to say Cena and Orton will have to make up for lost time. It's just Rollins is going to have to make up for way more lost time than Cena and Orton are ever going to have to, because I'm expecting their returns to happen in April or May as opposed to Rollins by August, which will bring them up to over 9